There's a power in silence that most people underestimate. We're conditioned to think that the moment someone crosses a line, we must defend, explain, or prove ourselves. But there's another way, a braver way. When you stay quiet after being disrespected, you're not agreeing with what happened. You're simply refusing to give it the dignity of your energy. Silence is not weakness. Silence can be a declaration of self-respect, a statement that says, I am not lowering my worth to meet your behavior. When disrespect comes your way, it's tempting to fire back immediately, to defend yourself, to correct the story, to make sure they understand you are not someone to be spoken to that way. But here's the truth. Every reaction you give costs you energy, and not all investments give a return. Your energy is your most valuable resource. It fuels your work, your relationships, your dreams, your health. Once you spend it, you can't get that exact moment back. And when you pour that precious energy into someone who's committed to misunderstanding you, you're not just wasting it, you're depleting yourself for nothing in return. Silence acts as your shield. It's not avoidance, it's preservation. Think of it like a bank account. Every time you engage with unnecessary drama, you're making a withdrawal from your emotional balance. But when you stay quiet, you're choosing to keep your balance high for the people, places, and situations that actually matter. The truth is, disrespect often comes from people who are battling their own storms they want to drag you into so they can feel less alone in their chaos. The moment you engage, you're in their storm, and storms have a way of leaving you drenched, exhausted, and off course. Silence is your refusal to step into their weather. It says, I see your storm, but I choose my calm. And protecting your energy doesn't just serve you, it serves the people you love. When you're drained from defending yourself against someone who doesn't care to understand, you show up less for the people who truly value you. Staying quiet after disrespect is your way of saying, I'm not letting this moment steal from my future. Your energy is the light you carry into the world. Don't let anyone dim it just because they're uncomfortable with their own darkness. We've been conditioned to believe that if someone disrespects us, the only way to reclaim our worth is to say something, and say it with force. We think that if we raise our voice, the other person will finally understand just how wrong they were. But here's the hard truth. People who choose to disrespect you rarely listen to your words. They listen to the noise of their own ego. Anger often feeds their narrative. When you react in rage, you can actually confirm the story they've already written about you. They stop seeing your point and start focusing on your tone. Your truth gets lost, tangled in the mess of emotions. Silence, on the other hand, does something powerful. It makes them face themselves. When you refuse to play their game, you take away the fuel their fire runs on. They are left with nothing but the echo of their own behavior. And here's the thing about echoes. They sound louder when there's no competing noise. Quiet becomes a mirror. It reflects their actions back to them without distortion. It's unsettling for someone who expects a fight and instead gets stillness, that discomfort. It's not your problem to fix. It's theirs to sit with. Quiet also preserves your dignity. You're not bending down into the mud to wrestle. You're staying on solid ground, showing them that your sense of self-worth doesn't need defending with chaos. The absence of your voice in that moment speaks volumes. I know who I am, and nothing you say can change that. And here's the beauty of it. Quiet lingers. Long after you've walked away, they will remember that you didn't need to prove yourself to them. They will remember that you left them in their own noise while you kept your peace. And sometimes that unshakable calm is the loudest statement you could ever make. One of the most liberating truths you will ever learn is that you are not required to show up for every fight you're invited to. Disrespect is often a bait, an open door into someone else's chaos. And if you step inside, you agree to play by their rules. Those rules usually aren't fair, they aren't respectful, and they certainly aren't designed for your growth. When you understand your worth, you also understand that your presence is a privilege. Not everyone has earned the right to engage with your energy. Some situations are simply too small for the size of your spirit. You can't let your life become a series of petty battles where you're constantly explaining, defending, or proving yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. Think of it this way: if you stop to throw stones at every dog that barks, you will never reach your destination. Every step you take toward pointless confrontation is a step away from your bigger purpose. Silence and absence are sometimes the wisest responses because they protect you from getting stuck in places that don't serve your future. Choosing not to fight doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're selective. You're choosing peace over performance. You're saying, I know what matters to me, and this is not it. And in a world that constantly tries to pull you into noise, that level of clarity is a superpower. Walking away from a battle you could win is often harder than charging in to fight. It requires you to trust that your worth isn't determined by anyone's approval or applause. It requires you to believe that real strength isn't always about confrontation, it's about discernment. In moments of disrespect, the pull to react is intense. Your body tenses, your heart rate rises, and your mind races with comebacks you could fire off in a split second. But here's the truth: when you react immediately, you're often reacting from the wound, not from wisdom. And when you speak from the wound, you risk giving someone else the pen to write your story. Silence gives you space. Space to breathe. Space to feel what you're feeling without letting that feeling take the driver's seat. In that pause, you reclaim your power to choose not just what you say, but if you say anything at all, that's control. Control doesn't mean suppression. It doesn't mean you're bottling everything up until it explodes later. It means you are refusing to hand over the keys to your emotional car. Because the moment you let disrespect dictate your words and actions, you're no longer in the driver's seat. They are. Silence is a boundary that says, I will not let you determine how I show up in this moment. And boundaries are not walls, they are gates. You decide when and to whom you open them. When you stay quiet, you give yourself the gift of perspective. You can look at this situation with clearer eyes, maybe even recognize that this isn't about you at all. It's about their own pain, fear, or insecurity spilling over. And knowing that changes the way you move forward. The beauty of control is that it allows you to act, not react. It lets you choose responses that align with your values rather than responses that simply satisfy the moment. It means you get to walk away with your integrity intact, no matter how disrespectful the other person was. Because here's the reality: anger can make you powerful for a moment, but control makes you powerful for a lifetime. And silence. Silence is often the bridge between the two. When you choose to stay silent after being disrespected, people may assume you're swallowing your feelings or pretending it didn't affect you. But silence, when intentional, is not suppression. It's strategy. There's a difference between burying your emotions and choosing the right ground to plant them in. Suppression is about pushing feelings down so no one sees them. Strategy is about holding them until you can place them in a safe, fertile place where they can be understood and processed. That means you're not ignoring the sting of what happened. You're simply deciding that the moment of disrespect is not the place to unpack your heart. Why? Because not everyone deserves access to your unfiltered emotions. Not everyone has the capacity to handle your vulnerability with care. Sharing your truth with the wrong person is like handing fragile glass to someone who doesn't mind dropping it. Your silence is your way of protecting what is fragile until it's safe. Quiet gives you time to think not just about what was said or done, but about what it actually means for you. Was this moment a one? time misunderstanding, or a pattern you've seen before? Does this person have a place in your life going forward? These are questions you can't answer while your emotions are boiling over. Silence gives you the space to gather the facts, to feel your feelings privately, and to choose the wisest course of action. This is where intentional quiet becomes a form of emotional intelligence. You are not denying your truth. You are deciding how, when, and to whom you will deliver it. That's not weakness, that's mastery. The most strategic people in the world know when to speak and when to wait. They understand that timing can change the entire outcome of a conversation. They know that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is to keep your thoughts to yourself until they can serve you rather than sabotage you. So remember, quiet is not giving up. Quiet is positioning yourself for a better move later. Quiet is knowing that you don't have to win the moment to win the bigger game. There's a moment after the sting of disrespect when you have a choice. You can stay and wrestle for your worth in someone else's arena, or you can walk away knowing your worth doesn't need their validation. That decision to turn and leave takes more strength than most people realize. Walking away is not an act of surrender. It is an act of ownership. It's you claiming your time, your peace, and your dignity as things too precious to be thrown into the mud of someone else's behavior. You're saying, I see what's happening here, and I choose not to make it part of my story. When you walk away, you're breaking the cycle. You're refusing to keep feeding energy into a situation that will never honor you. And that is an act of courage, because the ego wants to stay and prove a point, but your soul knows that proving yourself to the wrong audience is a losing game. Walking away also communicates something powerful without you ever having to raise your voice. I am not available for disrespect. I will not negotiate my value. I will not reduce myself to fit into your comfort zone. That message, even if it's unspoken, is unforgettable. And here's the truth. You don't owe anyone an explanation for choosing yourself. You don't have to defend why you didn't argue back, why you didn't set the record straight, or why you didn't stay to hear more. Your life doesn't need to be lived in defense mode. Self-respect means you know when to close the door and when to keep walking without looking back. It takes emotional maturity to understand that sometimes peace is more valuable than being right. The quiet dignity of walking away says more about your strength than any argument ever could. It's the difference between being reactive and being rooted in your values. So the next time disrespect finds its way to you, remember this: leaving isn't weakness, it's a declaration. It's you telling the world, I am the protector of my own worth, and I don't bargain it away for anyone. If you want, I can now write the full conclusion for the entire speech, Stay Quiet After Disrespect, so it ties all 6 expanded keynotes into one powerful closing statement. That would make it feel complete and delivery ready. Would you like me to do that? Staying quiet